Got it.
Welcome to the May, it's May already. Welcome to the May verse virtual reading. And I am going to warn you that there is an invisible helicopter inside my computer and it's making annoying sounds. So if it gets too bad, just tell me and I'll turn my sound off if I'm not in the middle of an introduction. New material has been ordered, but it's not here yet. So I'm hoping that I will fix this problem in the future. Our features today are Mary B. Moore, Martha Solano, and Max Heinegg. And we're going to start today with Mary B. Moore, who's our first feature. Mary Moore's 5 books include Dear If by Orison Books. And please mute yourselves if you haven't already, and if you're not a feature who's going on in a minute. So please mute yourself. Her 5 books include Dear If by Orison Books, April 2022. Flicker, published by Dogfish Head Book Prize, 2016. And Book of Snow, Cleveland State University Press, 1997. And the chapbooks are Amanda and the Man Soul, which won the Henry's Prize in 2017, and Eating the Light, Sable Books Contest in 2016. Her poetry has won awards from Mail, Terrain, Astral Poetry Review, and Nimrod. Poems appeared lately in Poetry, Prairie Schooner, Gettysburg Review, Birmingham Poetry Review, the Nasty Women's Poetry Anthology. I like that. And Fire and Rain, Echo Poetry of California. She lives in Huntington, West Virginia, where she retired from Marshall University. So go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that nice introduction, Roby. Dear If is a book of doubt and belief. Dear tells you there's affection and love and for whatever the spirit is. I was raised Catholic, which becomes clear fairly soon. I'm reading a selection of poems demonstrating sides of the God in Dear If. Dear God of weather, what's another word for you? Awe, I can and can't quite think. Unknowing's cloud, Virga's hymn. In the after rains, tappity tap tap, where's clarity? See, I query threes, trinities, girl, seeking a mean. You lack a middle term, extremes, your modus operandi. Clouds, you conjure thunderheads, unpacific, but loud. You're terrific, I applaud you. Tsunami, earthquake, grandeur. I call you you because I can't speak you otherwise. Who spoke us once and I us now, says the myth, but your word does not ward and guard. Recording in progress. Large in eschewing vowels in Moses' time, the better to be unspeakable, as if namers owned the name. You're the I Ching's no blame. Nothing clings to you, shoulderless tornado, walking Charybdis, heedless and headless. Eternal, who sentencing subject, we're your whoms, doers done to. How can you bear to be and know and not undo? That's why I guess you're not even an eye. Brown, blue, green, but vision without vision without a brow, all brawn. That'll teach me to play with all those sounds. Dear Old Testament God, we've imagined you, the burning bush Moses witnessed, sign of your passion to be voice alone, nameless, bodiless, but only as fire is. You cling to the embodied, not California's creosote, manzanita, scrub oak, but Sinai's bramble, Rubus sanctus, it's called after you. Or maybe red summer cypress, its flower spurs flames. Naming's our passion, you see. Maybe you can consume or enwrap without consuming, so you can love over and over as unburning fire, but you go wild, dervish, and devour what you love. And like the flames that halo the stove burner or jump between is and isn't in the fireplace, you flicker loss and endurance, on, off, leap, retreat, barely contained, fatal and beautiful, unburned. Even as you burn the world, you also are. I lost one of my markers and I need to find that poem, so it's going to take a minute here. Oh, there it is. There's also terror, if that isn't already clear, in my vision of this iffiness. California Ode. The ravens say, ha, ha. They've caught me out. Morning small horn notes, terse and hoarse. A sheep's bleat, a handsaw, the finches who chime in on the apple tree, moss furred in patches, the stalled tart fruit, red-bottomed, inch-wide, timing out, the tree blighted. You can't call this chorus music. Ha ha, I think the name of a British sunken fence I once hunted down for Scrabble. Nothing haunts or hunts the white morning glory that solos in the swath of optimist dandelions, their dazzle yellow boast. Hello, hello, we're hiding's counternote. They border the pine voles holes and the wild hemlock whose parsley look emblems the book of seam. Purple stemmed, a four-petaled white flower draws a fat bee, a troth, if not a promise. Its leaves, toothed arrowheads, air browses, don't memorialize the native tribes. We ought here, or Ishi's people further south. They're only fenced with the ravens, ha and ha. An LOL or bravado's call. It's what Yahweh boasts, his battle horses say in the Englished book of Job. We're all imperiled. The ravens circle and caw. Even earth can seesaw when the fault slides right. It's raven heaven here. So there's both, thank you, there's both reverence and irreverence in these poems. Dear Sod All is based on a British slang phrase. I love British slang. Just in case it's not clear, Sod all actually means nothing. It sounds like it means everything, but it means nothing. Dear Sod all, receive this homage of thumbs up and stadium waves. You're tricky. I thought you meant everything and learn you're nothing. As if the huts are prairies homed, the woods humus, maidenhair ferns, root fur, and spore were not. No wonder we can wheedle sod all out of you, who revel in the rift between not and knowing. I laid sod as a kid, squares green, bare furred on the rooting side, and filled the yawn where lawn once grew. Daddy wanted dichondra, moss's kin, fragile leaves shaped like the ace of spades, the spadile. Mother's favorite card in solitaire. She died of suicide. The squares took weeks to fuse into lawn. Even the light-footed weren't allowed to walk the new lawn. The little white moths starred it, stuttering constellations, utterings like the skies. Dad saw it all now too. And you, word without tongue, sleight without hand. Are you, after all, the ground of all? Earth, prairie, sod. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Done already. Okay.
Well,
That went-
I have tons more, but I hate going over, so.
No, I don't. I'm glad you didn't go over because then
Thank you,
everybody
dear.
else would be. So I'll go on to our next feature, who is Martha Solano. Thank you very much, Mary. That was a beautiful set. Please
Thank you.
put your links, if possible, into the chat because people have expressed an interest in buying some of your books.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's always wonderful when it happens, which isn't often enough. So Martha Solano's most recent poetry collection is Gravity Assist, published by Saturnalia Books in 2019. Her poems have appeared in Poetry, Paris Review, American Poetry Review, and the Best American Poetry series, among others. Her honors include the North American Review's James First Poetry Prize and the Cincinnati Review's Robert and Adele Schiff Award. She teaches at Bellevue College, Seattle's Hugo House, and as a poet in the schools in Skagit, Canada, Washington. So take it away, Martha. Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie. Here I am. Wow, it's great. Thanks so much, Robbie, for emceeing, and to Jim Lewis for doing this wonderful thing, making this community, bringing us all together. I'm a recent addition. I finally submitted a few months ago, and so I'm thrilled to be here. So I'm going to read from a newish manuscript. I mean, it's not published. I tried to keep the cosmos out of this book for as long as I could. I guess I thought I had two manuscripts, and I was at a reading and reading it. And someone said, mush them together. So I'm doing that. And this poem I thought was appropriate because we have a picture now of the black hole in the middle of our galaxy.
Yes.
And I guess it's the shadow. And I could talk for 10 minutes just about how amazing that is, and how it was done. And it's not really a typical black hole. I mean, it's pretty cool. Here we are. So I wrote this poem called What They Said when they started searching for black holes all over the universe. So this is called What They Said. that they'd studied 4% of the sky, that there's this thing called the ionosphere, that it's like looking at the sky from the bottom of a swimming pool, that they were counting black holes with instruments 10 times better than before, plus algorithms, plus all these words I didn't understand, but 4% of the sky. But in that narrow band to the north, they found 25,000, which means in the remaining 96%, there could be close to 500,000 more. And that's what they plan to do. Count every black hole in the sky, count every event horizon, every instance of swirling infinite blackness, of the place of no return, of the sucking power no Dyson has ever known, the place of spaghettification, the who knew there were so many, the who knew they were visible to us, not just one, but 25,000, each in a galaxy like our own, substantial, giant-armed, born of what spilled from Hera's breast when she realized she was nursing another woman's child, the baby Hercules. With its 100,000 million stars, with its 100 billion planets, with its one planet with one ocean, this one we float on, this one we call ours. Okay, so I was doing some research on the inland sea, and I found out some things, and I love to share them in this poem. And this poem is called, well, it leads into the first line. During the Cretaceous, our country was divided for 600 million years by an inland sea. The fissure, 2,000 miles long, 600 feet wide, 2,500 feet deep. On the left side, Laramidia, on the right, Appalachia. Back then, the landscape was recognizable to both sides. To both, clams were the size of small area rugs, turtles as big as Dodge darts. Both agreed mosasaurs breathed air, had adapted to swim in shallow water, gave birth to live young. If a Ginsu shark swam past, both would laugh at how it got its name, its ability to slice and dice. No one argued whether Hesperornis, a cormorant-like bird, chowed down whole by mosasaurs, was flightless or not, whether it used its bill and teeth to hunt down bony fish. Maybe this was because unity depends on a baseline of shared reality, all agreeing shark teeth are shark teeth, crinoid lilies are crinoid lilies, that a fish's jaw cannot be fungible, that you can't swap a toothed tongue for a smooth one. On both sides of the divide, dinosaurs roamed. On both sides, Earth was Earth, the landscape recognizable to the creatures on either side. No one on the left side and no one on the right side rubbed their eyes and said, nope, nope, no such thing as a plesiosaur, no such thing as a coccolithophore. The schism was literal, not figurative, caused by subduction, one plate colliding into another. At the end of the Cretaceous, the sea dried up. Now the sea is all the middle states, those who voted red and those who voted blue. Where the sea was, the chalky remnants of a sea, of bivalves, their shiny pearls. So in my bio, it mentions that I get to teach little kids. I teach second, third, I've taught first graders. This was a fourth grade class up near Monroe, Washington. Am I saying it right? Yeah, it's up there. Mount Vernon. This is near Mount Vernon. Okay. Nature never needs recharging, and this all really happened. Nature never needs recharging. Its network never goes down, including here at Big Rock Elementary, where I tell my students we're putting on our coats, going outside in search of images, past the manicured playground, past the bleachers, toward and beyond the fence, Cody running past me yelling, "Slug eggs!" I point to trees and flowers and birds and say their names: red alder, licorice fern, Douglas fir. Together, we listen to the ocaree of a red-winged blackbird, the raspy call of an eagle soaring overhead. Together, we touch the bark of a hawthorn tree, admire the fat buds of a big leaf maple. I tell each child to choose an artifact and bring it to their desk. Back inside, Carmen keeps asking, "What's this called?" "It's a blackberry leaf," I say. Smiling, she twirls it, sniffs. An ant hitched a ride on Simon's pine cone. Tyler wants to know how to tell an eagle from a hawk. Peyton asks if it's okay he chose a dead leaf. The room is alive with rocks and twigs. The poems they write are crawling with spiders, wiry like lichen, swaying with catkins, quiet like clumps of moss. Nature has no username or password. Its signal is always strong. All you need to do is stand in a field, let your shoes get wet in the knee-deep grass. That was a fun day. I'm going to finish with a poem called Everything Ends. Everything ends, but so what? In the sultry nights of August, I'll unravel. Want to join me? We can pant ourselves pantless, share a double brush fire on the raucous. Together, we can close the book on the uncertainty principle, load up on waning at Wingstop, discuss the sorrow of burned beaks. Free the crows, you say, and I raise a toast to a small uninhabited island, a boisterous whale, a purity stone, a planet without smoke. Because pleasure counts big time, because days spent in a tender mess are unrecoverable, naked and floodlit, cocoon in the opposite of random. We remind ourselves of the importance of seaweed and seasons, of each and every bacteria, how we're more microbe than human. If everything ends, why are you sharpening your sorrow, running to catch the discomfort? Thank you.
That was wonderful. Gosh, lots of wonderful today. That's just great. I just wanted to write everything down. I couldn't. Same thing with Mary. Thanks for featuring today. And if you wouldn't mind putting your website link in or links to your books, that would be really great, because I'm sure there are lots of people who are itching to order some. Okay. Our third feature today is Max Heinegg. Max is a high school English teacher. There's a lot of teaching going on today. Recording artist and brewery owner. So everyone, when they get out of teaching their classes, they'll need a drink. We can help you. And he lives in Medford, Massachusetts. His first book, Good Harbor, won the inaugural Paul Nemser Prize from Lily Poetry Press. His work has appeared in 32 poems, the Portland Review, Thrush, Nimrod, and Asheville Poetry Review, among others. And his website is www.maxheinegg.com. And when he's reading, I will put that in the chat. So take it away, Max.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being a part of this community and having been on the outskirts or in the gallery watching for a while, so it's really nice to be let in the front door. I'm really appreciative to be able to read with such great poets like Mary and Martha, whose work I've admired for a long time. Am I loud enough? Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm in my basement in Medford. So my book, the first manuscript that I got taken is mostly about the intersection of family and the attempt as a parent and a teacher to create safety in a world that's obviously, it is what it is. So the good harbor of home, the good harbor of the classroom, and then literally the good harbor of a beach called Good Harbor that we go to in Gloucester. So the poems I'm going to read to you have to do with that interplay, the attempt to create safety where maybe there isn't any. The opening poem is called The Spider of Damocles, and it plays with the story of the thread of Damocles, where a man wants to know what it's like to be king. And the king says, well, if you want to know, come to dinner. And as they're having dinner, he looks up, the king points above the man's head, and there's a sword dangling above the guy's head. So the sword of Damocles, when you think you want something like being the king, there's danger where there's happiness, there's danger where there's success. The Spider of Damocles. You've been reading The Year of Magical Thinking and tell me you want to die before the children. And I agree. The one dread I'd ghost for, folding my hand before dark, who bluffs facetiously but holds all. The riches of living simultaneously is a luck worth more than any gravitas. I thought how I'd end it if my trinity vanished and was ready to ask if you'd wolf it or stammer out the days, when above my head, in a web the sunlight hid, a 3-inch spider between pole and sky said 8 easy tigers to my tempting. Not a sword above a laden table, not a tale the royal spun to scare a vying naif, but the breath I shouldn't second guess. All happiness endangers itself. We had a brush with COVID, and a lot of people, did. Ours turned out well, but I ended up in the hospital with my younger daughter. And while we were there, we ended up watching a great deal of Cinderella in the hospital. And this is a poem about the experience of maybe knowing a little bit more what was going on than the kid did. It's called The Gauze Bow. Hair tie in hand, she asks me to braid because her IV arm won't bend. By the door, the nurses enter masked. I part and clasp her curls, strawberry blonde edged by lemons. She's surprised. You did a pretty good job, Dad. But her bangs fall in her eyes. I find the gauze bandage her arm was wrapped in for the ride and improvise a simple bow from the roll. Her pulse has climbed ahead of her all day. I followed every step, fearing the virus or her body's response, the fever cycles, the rash across her face. When her phone scroll bores, she chooses the live action Cinderella, incognito in gifted clothes, stunning the ball in iridescent blue. All night, through the gaps in her red flecked veil, the fever breathes through. By morning, her pulse calms. As she dreams of leaving, the nurse asks her name, reading the blood aloud to a girl unused to her gown. And so I had a little fun with trying to make it, a little bit like Cinderella, all the toys for Cinderella. So I'm a teacher too, and I've had 24 years in the classroom teaching grades 6, 10, and 12. And I'm gonna not, this will probably be the heaviest thing I read, but I've had some students who've died from drug overdoses. And so my experience as a teacher with trying to simultaneously say like, hey kids, lay off the drugs, and not seem like I don't understand the impulse to investigate such things, led me to writing this poem, which is called Keepers of the House. The epigraph is from Ecclesiastes. The day the keepers of the house tremble and those that look out of windows be darkened, because man goeth to his long home and the mourners go about the streets. In his apron, Vincent plucks the vivid Italian cookies, doubting correctly they're for my girls, and slaps his gut. Nothing wrong with a sweet tooth. His name's tattooed elbow to wrist in cursive, neck adorned by a thin gold cross, telling me the drugs are why he left town. Turning into Gloucester, poison just handed out to kids. I hear you. I've read the epitaphs of morning texts, learned the limits of a teacher's influence, and haven't seen the last of the young shadows like the ones my colleague follows home from school, trailing the specter of powder and the silence of a sun. Like the two ghosts in my classroom who return to take their seats when I open the window for the breeze. When they're listening, I preach. Trust yourself, speak, don't court danger. But I'm talking to myself. I regret I never told them that I used to relish the back-tongue bitterness, taking emptiness for oasis. Friends died, but I was lucky. When I needed safety, I still had keys to the house I couldn't wait to leave. And thank you. I'm recovering from some spine surgery I had a couple days ago, so this is the first day I haven't been sort of like super woozy. So it's kind of nice to actually like feel a little bit more aware. And I'm going to read. I think I'm going to read two more, if that's okay. And I'm going to read one about. I'm going to kind of just stick with the theme here about the dad and the kids angle today. This is called Cassiopeia. Over a dock in Isla Morada, winter shows us the hunter's badge of stars, his shield and cudgel raised, but not needed against the mortal Scorpius, whose tail sleeps in summer skies. Tonight, I remember Orion's other death, the target when Apollo taunted a smitten sister. Bet you can't pierce that dot in the distance, which was her lover's head above water as he swam in peace miles away. Her immortal grief couldn't sway Zeus to bring him back, but in honor, her father strung the stars. On the steps back, we paused to catch the circumpolar queen mother who only boasted once that her girl outclassed the holy spirits of the sea, rousing their father to revenge. Young, I thought that myth only how wealth makes one feel untouchable. The night sky should be the end of hubris and the jealous possession that rules us. But this is one of the last times their inseparable youth and beauty are ours entirely, before they quit their rooms and cleave to others. Now I know silence is a safer vanity and why she had forgotten what the world is ready to take away. Yet a ruinous secret, I too love my daughters more than I fear the gods. And I lost track of time, so my last one, hopefully I'm not aggressively going over here. This one's called Joy Division. I wrote the poem, called it Satellite, because I wanted to think about, I was talking about the moon and I was thinking about satellite, and I have aspirations of understanding astronomy a little bit better. And another poet read the poem and said, maybe you should change the poem to the band that you referenced in it. My younger daughter was listening to this really emo band back from my generation called Joy Division. So the poem features COVID and, it was once called Satellite, but this is Joy Division. The body above the graves of Oak Grove Cemetery holds its post. No hangdog face, no fretful ghost in the light. It does not shine a reminder, abiding, if not today, perhaps tomorrow. My daughter lowers her mask and says, it's peaceful here, and shows me a rose quartz headstone, private by the pines. Distancing the spring, she discovered the older plots and family vaults blocks from our house. I thought, too dark. Her walks listening to love, love will tear us apart again. But that's the draw for both of us, melody stained away from brightness. I know these dead saw worse omens come true, wars we choose to know about, soldiers too soon shorn threads. The daylight moon says some curses are just the worm turning the soil for a crop we'll never see. That's fair, her phrase returns to me. This isn't a plague, and I don't believe in curses. The moon keeps our quiet, looking on like a father, but only a follower. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Now we'll start with our open mic, and I think everyone except one person who signed up is actually here, which is some kind of record. And the one person who isn't here tried to get in and couldn't. So it definitely is for us. Our first person on the open mic, which is 2 poems or 5 minutes, whichever comes first, is Hetty Hopper. And she's a first time for our readings. It's good to see you.
Yes, thank you. I also, like Martha, have joined since this year, since the beginning of the year, and I'm delighted to be here. And I will be reading 2 poems from The Taste of the Earth, from the 5th section that was about the aftermath of violence in the Middle East. And these are 2 pantoums for a pantoum for peace and a pantoum for hope. And it struck me that unfortunately there is this cyclical situation, and I thought of Ukraine and picked these 2 poems. So the first pantoum is called The Colors of Dawn, a pantoum for peace. Spring rain washes out ashes and winter fears. Doves dip their wings in the colors of dawn. Children gather fallen petals, feather and down. Let's weave a tapestry with 1,000 petals. Doves dip their wings in the colors of dawn. Cherry blossoms cover the veined branches. Let's weave a tapestry with 1,000 petals, invent a new alphabet to record our dreams. Cherry blossoms cover the veined branches. Let's paint windows and doors on stone walls, invent a new alphabet to record our dreams. Fingers string beads carved out of olive pits. Let's paint windows and doors on stone walls. Hang rosaries on the highest limbs and towers. Fingers string beads carved out of olive pits. Small hands gather pebbles to erase borders. And the next, thank you. The next poem is also, it's called Song Rising from the Depth of Sorrow, a pantoum for hope. Seeds of hope are written in invisible ink. Underlying despair, they fold seasons at will. Stop tears of blood and bodies from falling. Keep rubbing with pumice stone and read. Underlying despair, they fold seasons at will. You can turn moon into sun and sun into moon. Keep rubbing with pumice stone and read. The pool of blood grows larger than the shadow. You can turn moon into sun and sun into moon. Bring to the surface secret and repressed longings. The pool of blood grows larger than the shadow. Look at the glittering pattern of underground veins. Bring to the surface secret and repressed longings. Curl into the moment preceding the bird's song. Look at the glittering pattern of underground veins. Listen to the song rising from the depth of sorrow.
Thank you, Hetty. Our next open mic reader is Mark Petrie. It's good to
Hello.
see you, Mark.
Nice seeing you. Hey, James, did you ever get something to eat? James, did you ever get something to eat?
He left.
Ah, okay,
He had to go back to his town. He
okay.
was just checking in to see whether everything fell apart.
All right. I've enjoyed this reading. Max, I teach 7th grade in Santa Ana, California, and we're having a huge trouble with edibles, huge trouble. So I've been there, and Martha, your enthusiasm is contagious. I just loved it. Really beautiful. All right. So here we go. Seated on an ancient beach chair, I see the outlines of Anacapa and Santa Rosa Islands, partially obscured by late afternoon fog, much as my past is now obscured by the passage of time, though the sunshine of your love echoes through my mind. I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going, as if it were the summer of '68. I'm in Ventura County 54 years later to celebrate my son's college graduation. I rest in the chair and listen to the waves breaking with the same energy as mine wanes. Having completed this journey for my son on his path to manhood, his path will continue long after mine ends. My heart is filled with joy so powerful, tears well up just thinking about it. Tears of joy born of pain so hard, my heart nearly breaks open. Why must joy be accompanied by such anguish? A triumph marching its way to the end of empire. I feel the spray of ocean on my face. The sun warms my skin. A steady breeze brings relief. Crying inside with a sense of pride and relief. So much goes into love, as if each moment of life is an unfulfilled prayer in which we hold our breath for redemption. And then it happens. I'm going to read this poem and its translation. It's written in French, and then I'll read the translation. It's a fairly short poem. Je ris et je crève, le sang de la vie, perdu, perdu. La nuit tremble en ma main. Je pleure la folie en ce siècle sec où, je ne sais pas, je ne savais guère le 20e, la moitié après la guerre. Et maintenant, je regarde ma main sans sang, se demandant quand cette guerre qui commençait avant moi a terminé et quand cette nouvelle guerre, l'enfant horrible de l'Oregon, a commencé. I laugh and I die. The blood of life lost, lost. The night trembles in my hand. I'm raining madness in this dry century where I don't know. I hardly knew the 20th, the half after the war. And now I look at my bloodless hand, wondering when this war that started before me ended, and when this new war, the horrible child of the hurricane, has begun.
Did you say whose poem that was? Is it yours?
What?
Whose poem? Who wrote the poem in French?
C'est moi.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next reader is Victoria Toomey. I think this is her first effort at the open mic.
Yes. Hi,
Okay.
everybody. It's nice to meet you. Thank you, Max, Mary, and Martha, very much for your reading. I'm going to start. I have a very short poem and then a slightly longer one. This first one is called Still Here. You were so grateful for the trees, the fearless blazing of the leaves, even as they fell, each stating in defiance, I am still here. Colors are a reason for joy, you said. Do you see how pretty they are? I picked you up for the early morning drive to the doctor, knowing in advance what she was going to say. All the way there, I swallowed the secret stone after stone. I sensed you already knew, but we spoke only of beautiful things as we watched the leaves falling like thin shavings of precious gold, the glittering sunlight in between the swaying branches, blinking overhead like stars. And the second one is called Glimpse. You are lying on the side of the road with silent eyes, having wandered away from the arms of the wild. I am uncertain how to name you, little child of nature. Thick, coarse fur, the wrong color for a fox, not a dog, not beaver, not weasel. Do names really matter now that you are empty of your prancing and hunting? Your joy of field, of tree root and stream? The day is warming, the wind is gently lifting your limp tail, as if a wandering spirit has slipped inside you in search of purity. What ceremony shall there be for your silent body, so close to the spires of the fragrant cathedral? What sacrament for a sinless creature in no need of forgiveness? The crows know best how to sing the hymns. The flies will dance and pray with folded wings, prepare you for the cleansing rain. In mutual silence, let us share this momentary clarity, this starlight blinking between the whispering leaves, this glimpse of something calm and true, this acceptance that one day we will meet again, move from simplicity to simplicity as one.
Thank you, Victoria, and it's been lovely to have you. Please come back. Our next reader is Lavina Blossom, who is not a first time. She featured here maybe a month. So, okay, Lavina, take it away.
Okay, I'm only going to read one poem today, make it real short. This is a poem that I had originally called it Associations. I renamed it Stacking Stones. And it's in 4 parts. And I should say that I thought it was string of beads, but I just looked it up now. And this plant, it's a succulent, it's called string of pearls everywhere I find it. So it's little balls of green all over this plant. Stacking stones. 1. Down to the last small task I self-assigned, moving a succulent to the brighter kitchen sill, before taking up pen, adding lines to what my father would call a loafer's pastime, my fingers slip and I side-skip the dropped pot, curse the mess. String of pearls, its green leaves still strung, but uprooted, dirt flung to the floorboards, terracotta shards cupping the heap. I squat, begin to reach. 2. And I am 10, helping my father pour cement by the barn. We laid chicken wire, then rock. I fumbled one and trying to catch it, got the tip of a finger smacked between 2 stones, sucked in my breath, then dipped my hand in the cattle tank's soothing cold water. 3. Where years before I held my doll so she could swim. Dad must have called me from my game because I left her staring up through murky scum. After her long soak, she never seemed to dry, dragging at my arms, less mermaid than padded brick. 4. Kin to that white cat, my father's favorite, he found stretched out stiff as that stick I wrote in the dirt with. He said he knew from the first something was wrong. It didn't play like a kitten. And when he picked it up, it had the weight of stone. Thanks.
Want another one?
No, that's okay.
They were short. Okay, our next reader is Michael Minassian.
Hi, I've got a couple of poems to read from my book from last year, A Matter of Timing. This first one is called, can everybody hear me okay? Mother Teresa, Armenian Saint. Last night, Mother Teresa visited me in my sleep. Standing next to my bed, she spoke to me in a high-pitched voice, a cross between a blackbird and an out-of-tune radio with busted vacuum tubes, telling me she was half Armenian. Her father changed his name from Boyajian after he immigrated to Albania and married her mother. At first, I thought she was there to pray, but instead, she offered to cook me a meal, an Indian goat curry, and didn't look too pleased when I told her I was a vegetarian. Still, we had a good conversation about God and the many species of birds on the Indian subcontinent. At least I think that's what she said. In the morning, there was no sign of her or the curry, just a loud squawking in my ear that faded, then flew away. And the next one's short, sort of based on a true story. He writes poetry, she said. My wife told her friend's husband that I write poetry. For a moment, he looked impressed, then asked me to recite a poem. Instead, I pulled out a camera and posed all three under the oak tree in the backyard. Overhead, wax wings complained, wanting me to photograph them while they rested from flight. Singing in their urgent voices, what good are arms without wings? We have no use for poetry, for words. Thank you.
You clap for yourself. Why not? Thank you, Michael. Our last reader today, who I'm giving Penelope's spot because, as far as I know, Penelope never made it in. If you're here, Penelope, you should speak now or forever hold your peace. Let's see.
Yeah, actually, Robbie, I'm right here. You
Oh,
can't-
no, you're not on the list.
Yeah,
No, I mean, you're not on the participant list, but of course, go ahead and read, and then we'll throw in Amy as a baker's dozen, even though it's not 12.
okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not totally invisible and inaudible. Robbie has me worried now.
Well, if you turned off your camera, I can't see you, so that may be why.
My camera is on. I see myself on the screen.
Yeah, I see you now, but if it was off before, that may be why I didn't see.
Okay. I'm really sorry. My phone is ringing. I have to go through the other room.
Okay, I'm going to let Amy go ahead, and then we'll come back to Penelope. I hope she doesn't mind. So Amy?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, thank you so much for squeezing me in. I'm going to read a poem from my new book, One Day in the Field, and it's called Thirst. I will use this pencil to draw you back to me. If not to this world that inside, rising like a river, were bones Ezekiel brought back to life. Never a conclusion, always imagination's axle rotating in the wheel center. This is not about Ezekiel, exiled to Babylon, his crazy visions almost hidden from the cannons. This is not about Ishmael, who lived to be 137, child of Abraham and Hagar. Hagar, a mere handmaiden to Sarah, chosen by Sarah. Is this about a slave purchased to carry a son? How the seed grew inside of her, how the seed grew like mastica sapping from a tree. A tree becomes a forest of believers. How Hagar and Ishmael, forsaken, were dying in a wilderness until an angel showed her the well, the angel reclining by her. Oh, for the thirsty. Oh, for you, my beloved, who did not live to 137, yielded to fluids cresting inside your brain, pushing against its walls until there was no memory, body and memory drowning in your own terrace of fluids. Terrace, in Old French, rubble, in Latin, terra, earth, akin to terrir, to parch, to thirst. When you were dying, I used an orange sponge to dab ice onto your lips. How EMTs had come and gone so many times to lift you. We brought in the metal bed as locking casters. No more sirens, except the one calling to you. Yes, this year is over. Yes, I etch absence. In grief's desert, I wait for Ezekiel to find me. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Amy. When are you featuring? Is it July or
I'm sorry, what?
when are you featuring? I forget.
I think it's in June with you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. I've tried to schedule like 5 at a time, so I'm getting a little confused.
Well,
Thank you.
for including me.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, Penelope, you go on ahead.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I was going to read the first and last sections of a very long poem called Typing, which is in the May issue of Verse Virtual. But now I'm feeling a little jangled and also I know we're all tired. So I think I'll just read the last section of the poem. It's in 6 parts and the parts are of equal length. And it takes quite a journey from the first section to the last section. And now I'm gonna go to that screen. The poem is called Typing. And I'm just going down to the bottom. Okay. So this is the last section of the poem. Illusion of control, but also freedom. Fingers poised while what's inchoate pools, then spills like water pummeled over rocks by its own weight. The way the caribou migration gets itself in gear, 1 or 2 slack amblers paddling north, tugging the attention of the rest until the mass move across hills and streams takes hold. Meander never twice the same, hundreds of miles hoofed to cover 20. So what if we end up exactly where we've been before, mouthing the same pastures? So what if freedom's just a word to boost biology and happenstance? The fluke of one particular sperm chatting up an egg, genes that unloose language linked to those that will destroy it. Hands hesitate and the screen turns black. Bezier curves indent themselves in shapes and colors, evanescent as the acrobatics of a tongue that no one translates anymore. In the moment just before the shift begins, from possible to formed, droplets drumming toward the waterfall. So I will say that the poem begins in a very straightforward narrative kind of way, and it continues for the most part in that way. And then it ends up at that end part that I just read. And so it's in the May issue of Verse Virtual. Thank you for listening.
We want to do one more because of the confusion.
Well, yeah, since it's so chaotic or feels that way to me right now, I can reverse myself and go back and read the first section, and then you may have an idea of where it begins, and you've already heard where it ends. So, all right. All right, so here's the first section of typing. When she was 20, my mother escaped from Bellevue, Ohio to Cleveland, enrolled in secretarial school, hoping she might elude her mother's watchful gaze and the ghost of her dead father. I can almost see her just before the war, her wavy brown hair and shining face, hazel eyes slowly opening to the possible. In secretarial school, she perfected how to turn a boss's words to hieroglyphs, bewitch them back, type them up in triplicate, carbon paper between sheets, dance a finger over gilt-edged keys. In her new suit, hat, and gloves, paid for how, poor as she was, high heels making her a giantess. She won work with a corporate law firm, learned all the clients' names and voices, how to prepare agreements, deeds, and wills, stock certificates and billing, personal letters in the kids' term papers. Sleekly clad, careful not to smile too wide and show a mouthful of cheap dentures. Soon valued for sharp mind and quick fingers, she swam upward from the secretarial pool, became one lawyer's jewel. Living at the Y with other women, newly fledged city life, shy duckling transformed, dreamed a limitless horizon.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for another wonderful reading. I'm going to stop the recording now, and you can chat with each other for a few minutes before we depart. It's
Hey, Michael, it's nice to see you. I've corresponded with you on Facebook, and I've really liked your stuff. And it's nice to finally see you in person, so to speak.
I feel the same way.
Hi, Mark. Good to see you too. Good to see everybody.
Yeah. This was
It's
really
great.
an amazing reading. I thought everybody was great.
And they have been for months. It's really a great community.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know more about Hetty's background. My gosh, part Armenian, speaks Arabic, French, teaches Spanish. Oh my gosh, you know, what a genesis.
It's complicated. I was born and raised in Egypt. I'm of Lebanese origin and lived in both countries practically at the same time. And 3 months in Lebanon every year, raised in Cairo, and then went to study pharmacy in Beirut. Then the war started in Lebanon and we left. My husband's was working for Abjan, and we moved to Greece, and then 6 years in Belgium, and then came here 40 years ago. So, but this is just a summary.
Wow.
But lots of us in the Levant, in all this area, have a very complicated history from, you know, and the Armenian part is because, you know, because of the Ottoman persecution. You know, the Ottoman ruled for 400 years. And so it's a long story. So that's why from my father's side, they had to go from Iskenderun to Aleppo for a long time and then to Egypt. But anyway, it's a very long story. My mother's side, they were in Syria and Lebanon. And also there was the persecution. They went to Alexandria. So my grandmother was schooled in Italian. And so it's like, it used to be a very cosmopolitan country. And then so many things changed. The devastation now in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the country I used to know. So all we can do is hope for a better world. And remember,
Well,
Well-
I just want to just say, I'm so happy I see familiar names, and now I have faces to go with names, and some folks are in my Facebook group, and, you know, I've seen names in Verse Virtual, and I just found Verse Virtual recently. And what a wonderful community. I've had people write emails to me. I've written to other people about their poems, and Jim is the best. And it's just terrific. When I saw that there was going to be a reading, I said, I can't miss that one. I can't miss it. So I just want to just express that to everybody. It's so nice to see all of you.
Oh, I hope that you'll join us again.
For
And
sure.
think about joining the Facebook group. It's a nice
I think
community.
I'm a member of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess you are, or you probably wouldn't have be allowed to stay on the list.
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm glad, and I hope that you'll come back.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's great to see everyone, and I love our diversity. We write about all kinds of different things, and we're different kinds of people. And you know, our family backgrounds and histories come into that, of course. And I'm sure that at one time or another, we're going to hear about everybody's history.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
everybody.
Robbie, thank you for this. This is a gift that you give us each month. Thank
I
you.
really enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks a lot, Robbie.
Thanks for the future readers.
It beats cleaning out the closet.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful readings and your generous comments. And Roby, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. Bye.
So much,
Bye, everybody.
buddy.